Look at the back of your hands for a second. If the skin has started looking thin, wrinkled, or almost creased like crumpled paper, most people assume that is just aging. What they don't know is that it's a specific biological process that most doctors never bother to explain to you, and it is completely reversible if you address the right cause, which almost nobody does. I have seen this pattern repeatedly. Women who moisturize regularly, who drink their water, who apply expensive hand creams morning and night, and their hands still look a decade older than their face. The cream is not failing them. They are just using the wrong one in the wrong way for the wrong reason. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why that happens, and you will have a very simple, very cheap solution you can start tonight. Here is something most people do not realize. Your hands have almost no sebaceous glands. These are the tiny oil-producing glands in your skin that act as a natural, built-in moisturizing system. Your face has thousands of them. Your hands have almost none, which means they have never had any internal defense against dryness. And that means they have always depended on external hydration. The moment your environment changes, the moment seasons shift, or you wash your hands repeatedly through the day, that skin has zero backup system, so it naturally starts losing water. Now add to that what happens physically to your hands every single day. Hands are the most mechanically stressed skin on your body. You grip things, you press, pull, and twist. Over time, the collagen fibers that give skin its structure, its bounce, they get compressed and misaligned from repetitive use. That is before we even talk about sun exposure. The back of your hands catches direct UV almost constantly, in the car, walking, or just about any outdoors activity. Most women think to apply SPF to their face, but to the hands, rarely. So you have a body part with no oil glands, constant mechanical stress, and chronic UV exposure. That is already a difficult situation. And then menopause happens, but not for the reason most people think. I want to go a bit more into depth here because the usual explanation is lazy, and it leaves women thinking nothing can be done. People say that estrogen drops and skin gets dry. That is true, but it is so incomplete it is almost useless. The real mechanism is more interesting and more actionable than that. Your skin has something called natural moisturizing factors, or just NMFs. This is the skin's own internal water retention system, completely separate from how much water you drink. These are compounds produced inside the cells of the outer skin layer that physically hold moisture in place. Think of them as tiny sponges embedded in the tissue itself. Urea is one of the most important of them. Amino acids, lactic acid, and certain salts make up the rest. Together, they keep the outer skin layer hydrated from the inside out, not just from a cream sitting on the surface. After menopause, the production of these natural moisturizing factors drops significantly, particularly urea. Studies show that skin urea levels can fall by as much as 50% in postmenopausal women. And here is the critical part. When you lose those internal compounds, water does not stay in the skin long enough to do anything useful. You can drink 2 liters a day. You can apply a thick moisturizer every morning. But if the NMF system is reduced, that moisture simply passes through and evaporates, and consequently, the skin cells shrink. They lose their plump, and the result on the surface is exactly what you are probably looking at right now. Skin that looks thin, papery, and creased. On summary, the hands show this fastest and most severely because they never had the oil gland backup to compensate. So when the internal system fails, the hands are the first place it becomes visible. The ingredient that replaces what your skin has lost is urea. This is not a patented compound or a luxury peptide. Urea is the same substance your skin used to make naturally. It is found in certain basic drugstore creams, the kind that sit on the bottom shelf next to the diabetic foot care products. You're looking for a concentration of at least 10% for hands. 20% works faster and is still widely available without a prescription. Brands like Eucerin Intensive Repair, Flexitol Naturals, or CeraVe contain it. The price is almost always under $4. What makes urea different from a standard moisturizer is that it does 2 completely separate things at once. First, it is a humectant. It actively pulls water molecules from the environment and the deeper layers of skin into the outer layer and holds them there. This is not a coating. It physically increases the water content of the tissue. Second, and this is the part that actually changes the texture of crepey skin, urea is a keratolytic. At concentrations of 10% and above, it gently dissolves the protein bonds between dead, hardened skin cells on the surface. That is what produces the papery, crinkled texture. Those cells have lost their water content, hardened, and stacked irregularly. Urea clears them. What you are left with is the newer, more organized skin underneath, and that skin holds moisture much more effectively because its own NMF system is more intact. This is why hand surgeons and aesthetic clinics do not advertise this. Hand rejuvenation procedures, fillers, resurfacing lasers, chemical peels cost between $800 and $3,000 per session, and they need repeating. A tube of high urea cream costs roughly $3, lasts 2 months, and addresses the actual biological deficit that is causing the problem. The reason why most people fail is because they assume that creams don't work. They apply the urea cream the same way they apply regular hand lotion. They rub a small amount in after washing, it absorbs in 30 seconds, and they move on. That method wastes most of the active compound's potential. Let me explain what needs to happen instead. Urea is most effective when it is kept in contact with the skin long enough to be properly absorbed into the outer layer, ideally 10 to 20 minutes. The fastest way to achieve this is what is called occlusive wrapping. You apply a generous layer of the urea cream to the backs of your hands, then slip on a pair of thin cotton gloves or wrap loosely with cling film for 15 to 20 minutes. The occlusion creates a slightly warm, humid microenvironment against the skin. It stops the active ingredient from evaporating, and it softens the surface just enough to allow the urea to penetrate more effectively. Done once a day for 7 consecutive days, the textural change starts becoming noticeable, feeling smoother to the touch, and the fine, crepey crinkle will begin to flatten. The best time to do this is in the evening, after your last hand wash of the day. Washing after application simply dilutes everything and shortens contact time dramatically. Apply, occlude, leave on while you watch television or read, then remove the gloves and leave the residue on overnight. That overnight window, when the skin is not being washed, gripped, or exposed to air, is when the deeper absorption happens. Also, before you apply the urea cream for the first time, wash your hands with lukewarm water and do not dry them completely. Apply the cream to slightly damp skin. Damp skin has a temporarily disrupted barrier, which allows humectants like urea to penetrate about 40% more effectively than dry skin. This one detail is the difference between good results and excellent results. I am curious, how long have you been dealing with this? And where in the world are you watching from? I ask because the climate you live in affects how quickly crepey skin develops and how your skin responds to treatment. If you want to drop your age and your country in the comments, it would genuinely help me understand better, and I can adjust future videos to what you actually need to know. Moving on, there are 2 things that actively worsen crepey hand skin that almost every woman over 50 is doing without realizing it. The first is using antibacterial soap for daily hand washing. Most antibacterial soaps contain surfactants that are significantly more aggressive than regular soap. They strip away not just bacteria and dirt, but the skin's residual natural oils and any remaining NMF compounds on the surface. For someone whose internal NMF system is already depleted, regular use of antibacterial soap accelerates the cycle of dehydration and surface cell hardening. Switch to a gentle, fragrance-free, pH-balanced cleanser. It does not need to be expensive. A simple glycerin-based liquid soap is enough. The second is alcohol-based hand sanitizer used more than 2 or 3 times per day. Alcohol at the concentrations used in sanitizers, typically 60 to 70% ethanol, penetrates the outer skin layer and dissolves lipids. Lipids are part of the mortar that holds skin cells together and slows water loss. Repeated daily disruption of that lipid layer in skin that already has reduced NMF production creates a compounding problem. The skin never fully recovers between exposures. If your environment requires frequent sanitizer use, apply your urea cream within 5 minutes of each application, before the skin has had a chance to feel tight. That is the window when rehydration is easiest. Now, let me give you a clear summary of exactly what to do starting today. Find a cream with at least 10% urea. Check the ingredients list, not just the front of the packaging. Apply it to slightly damp hands in the evening. Cover with thin cotton gloves or cling film for 15 to 20 minutes. Do this every day for 1 week. Switch to a gentle, fragrance-free soap for daily washing. And stop treating your hands as an afterthought. They are the part of your body that shows biological aging first and most clearly, and they respond to the right intervention faster than almost any other area. The most common reaction I hear from women who do this consistently for 2 weeks is not that the skin looks different in the mirror. It is that they notice it when they touch something. They grip a door handle or pick up a glass, and the skin on their hand feels different, more like skin used to feel. That is the urea restoring what the skin lost internally. It is not magic, it is just chemistry, the right element applied correctly. If you found this useful, the next videos will cover different parts of the body with a similar biological mechanism and a cheap product that fixes it. So consider leaving a like and subscribing to not miss them out.